Okay, here's a good one. At what point do you recognize that you're pretty much tapped out at what you know? And by that, I mean, it's like a concept just will not equate. And you find yourself, as the current avatar does, has peaked intellectually, and it now takes more energy to actually even get close to the awareness of the infrastructure of reality. So you got to think about, do you, as the unit, can you lock into the reality rule set? And the reality rule set is so above the pay grade of most avatars playing the game, is that that's a good thing if the avatar has awakened with enhancers that says, you know what, what do you want to know? Well, I'll tell you what you know is one of the things that, if you can be aware of this, is that there are rules at a higher level that you, again, my audible, what, see, this is what I was talking about at the beginning. At some point, you just tap out with what you know, and to present it to others. Because, first things, this is a great hack tip to life. So, inner voice, awaken that thing. Okay? Name it. And then what? Well, you have a dialogue with that. And so, because that's, if you can awaken that beast in you, and it tells you what, well, it's just a listener first. So, because you got to be good with what you know to be true in the day-to-day operation of the avatar. And so from that perspective, you then go forth with what you know to be true. And then there are all kinds of rules in which the avatar has to play in, which is good because you want rule sets at a higher level that you can become aware of, because it could be true, it could not be true, but what do you care? So currently, you have a very large following. Yeah, internally, that large following is one. Yeah, and so the problem with this avatar, the one you're looking at right here, is he's taken enhancers. Is it? No, it's not. He enhances of the brain. So I've got to figure out that I've unearthed rule sets that are above how many people? Current humans, 99.8. We're lucky. So those are aware. But if you're awakened at a higher level, usually you're just like, I'm done. I'm just gonna kumbaya to the end. And it goes into one. And that is true. So you would think that there'd be some sages out there, and they would be, oh, see, and it's just like, he said sage. And he's like, well, if you were a sage, you would have to understand all in which the sage knows. And you're like, do you want that? Because as someone that has hacked the system, I know a lot of stuff, but current self, if you take, here's another nugget. If you take enhancers in order to be aware of infrastructure of rule sets that normally you do not tap into, there is a tool on your biological unit. 100%. I mean, it's just like you would think that would be true because it's all in balance. And so if you're putting more stuff in to awaken things that normally are at a frequency, so the normal when things just get on autopilot, which means that everything just runs the most efficient. So you would think that would be right? Because if it wasn't efficient, it would then burn until it did get into a balance. You always want a balance because that is an equilibrium state. It allows flow to ebb and flow. So, and you'd want that too with the story, with however you're trying to define how you use the circle of the sun. See, and it's just like, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying? Well, first you have to finish the thought, which means that you understand that the circular motion of Earth around the sun, and it's also rotating, right? Because if we just if we just went the same way, kind of like what the moon does. So why do we see the same side of the moon and Earth? God, can you imagine if we were blasting at that sun 24/7? Well, would there be a 24/7? Right? So, because if time is tied to a cycle in which we can put a amount of movement that would, but if you didn't turn, that means you'd be blasted. Yeah, I'd probably what the humans would do is they would go on the line in which if you went over this side, it's always dark, and if you go on this side, it's always light. So, you know, you would go into the dawn and you would go into the sunset whenever you wanted. But so something caused a rotation of this planet. And then it's on, hey, so, and not only is it rotating, but it has to actually pivot. So why? Well, same thing is if it didn't turn, if it was always on the same part, then everything from a heat standpoint. So I'm on a rock and I'm having these heat things that we don't even know what they are. They're just heat things that go to the bottom of the soil of the unit that you're on. So that's the funny thing. It's like, okay, now do you realize that you're on a rock that's suspended? So tell me, how do you do that? Isn't that funny? I mean, if you really think about it, that if you're an awakened human, good for you, because you're on a rock, and there are rules that allow that rock to how is it staying in place? And there's going to be some people that will give you some answers. You know, like that's good. However, so you're a unit on this thing that is part of one thing that's part of another. So if you scale out, you would think there would be rules that govern whatever enlightened being is on that level. So as a human, you're stagnant. You have plateaued. You have plateaued for, if you make it to 100, you are quite enamored with the ability to live a long life. Okay, I'm not even sure that a lot of this is interesting. However, to the unit, you got to tie in time, you got to tie in rule sets at a higher level. And I guess I keep repeating this. Well, we'll make it one more. Okay, so we're here for a finite time because that's part of the rules. Because you would have to figure out what you would call biology, and with bio, then what are the rule sets of bio? And this is fundamental 101. So if there's non-bio, like completely different, yeah, does that exist? Explain that, because if you explain that, you get to go on. And some of these may resonate with others because they're like, yeah, we know this. Tell me something we don't know. And I'm like, 10 minutes is up.